Hallo ihr Lieben zu Henerasyon 2.0, dem Deutsch-Pinoy-Podcast. Was ist die philippinische Küche? Und wie kocht man philippinisch? Das sind uralte Fragen, auf die es keine einfache Antwort gibt. Chefkoch Tatung Sarthou, der momentan in Deutschland zu Besuch ist, gibt uns Antworten zum Grübeln. Ja, wirklich. Und er führt uns in die Welt der philippinischen Zutaten. Was aber noch viel schöner ist, dass uns dadurch nicht nur hungrig gemacht hat, sondern uns erinnert hat, dass philippinisches Kochen auch Identität bedeutet. Also, viel Spaß!
Do you have a connection to Germany, sir?
My mom's been based in Germany for the longest time. So I've been here like several times over the last 2 decades. And I just sort of like a second home of sorts. Not that I'm here that often, I stay that long, but it's just because like our conversations in the family always revolves around like going to Germany, what's happening in Germany, what's going, all that. So like you're really connected to the place and the culture and everything else.
So do you speak also a little bit German?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
Do you know a few words?
Yeah, I could understand
Really?
a few words.
Like
yeah.
what, sir?
Danke, the usual acto. Yeah, but yeah, so not much. But once you like my brother also studied in Germany, but is based in the Philippines right now. So even after hearing it for so many years, listening to people talking, you kind of get a feel of what they're talking about, so they can really talk behind your back because you understand. Yeah.
Do you have maybe a favorite German dish, sir?
For lunch at the swine haxe, So, I want baboy, di ba? Yeah. Missing the suka though, but
And
good.
do you cook it as well?
Yeah,
The
in
German
fact,
version.
in fact, it's featured in one of my books. No, I did a cookbook. It's called Simple Kitchen Secrets, and what we tried to do, though we were featuring a lot of international dishes, we were trying to connect it to Philippine cuisine. So like, we're doing the swine haxe. It's like our crispy pata. We're doing so that for a Filipino learning to cook, they have a better context of how to cook and how to, contextualize understanding how to cook and transform, having an international perspective. Because everything is practically the same.
Correct.
In terms of methods, in terms of ingredients and all that. Just like, just change your side dish, your charcoal, change it to achara, it's going to be different. You change it, it can be Thai, So once you understand that, you have a bigger perspective of world cuisine rather than being very myopic. No, that's wrong, because we're always taught, especially in Western cookery, especially in French cookery, you're always taught, this is the proper way to do it, and this is the only way to do it, But in Philippine cooking, it's more fluid, it's more forgiving, and like, for example, like your pinakbet is not a standard list of vegetables. It's really vegetables that is available to you, and it's just seasoned with bagoong or fish or shrimp paste. Diba? So you react to the environment. But if you came up with like a standard pinakbet recipe, and you're here like in Germany, you would never be able to cook it because you wouldn't find the ingredients, So you really have to capture the sensibility of a cuisine to be able to, especially like you're trying to promote, and that's one of the challenges of Filipino cuisine, is that we are unable to promote it as well as other cuisines and make it more mainstream than we desire it to be, but without really breaking it down into like concepts or fundamentals. You won't be able to allow other people to recreate the dishes within the context of where they are.
Going a bit back, sir, in time, when you were still little kids. What were your inspirations to become a chef?
You know, when I was growing up, you know, I come from a generation where no one was, you know, like in school, like in elementary school. Oh, what do you want to become when you grow up? I want to be a chef. That celebrity chef idea or concept only emerged in the, you know, 90s during the time of the Food Network. Before that, they were just cocineros. Diba? You were just like cooks. You just cook. So it's not like something like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a engineer, I want to be a pilot. That's what, you know, kids look, you know, forward to becoming. But no one said they wanted to be a chef. No one. Because it wasn't glamorous. It was a cocinero, diba? You have your helper at home, let them cook. That's your cocinero, cocinera, diba? So for me, it wasn't really in the, you know, it wasn't a career that I planned on. But I think that once you find your passion, and that passion is really connected to your life purpose, you will end up being there. So I already was, you know, cooking. I was already working in the kitchen when the idea of the celebrity chef hit the Philippines. So probably I was just one of the lucky few, like, uso sa Amerika yung celebrity chef. Sino kayang pwede dito sa Pilipinas? So we just got that, parang got wind of what I was doing. Like, sige, eto, pwede to. Yan, not knowing if I had talent or, you know, I'd stay long in the industry. Like probably, sige, eto, pwede na to. Parang ganun.
What was one of the first dishes that you cooked that you fell in love with?
Well, I've always loved working in the kitchen, you know, while I remember growing up, like, while all my other cousins would be like, you know, playing, you know, running around, doing their stuff, I would spend time in the kitchen with my lola, you know, or my mom, and, you know, yung, diba, yung katiris ng malunggay, di ba? So as I said, this is what you do, di ba? Or yung string beans, you string the beans and all that. And so, sige, gisa mo, halo mo. So it was just that fascination. Like, it's not really like, you don't start doing recipes, di ba? It's really about, would you have that kind of patience? Would you have that kind of temperament to deal with these little things, diba? Kasi some people don't, you know, they love the idea of cooking, but their idea of cooking is really the halo-halo. Like, for example, like, naka-ready na lahat para kay ganso. You cook that, you mix that. And they think cooking is just that. But for me, I started doing the side jobs, like peeling the bawang and all that. So there's that parang gratification once you move up na ikaw na yung pinapahawak ng sandok. Rather than automatically like young people na everything's there and I cook. No, I'm a chef, I cook that for you. But everything was done for you. But you don't know how to, the process of it. So it's really different.
Is there something out of your books, for instance, to recommend to me as somebody maybe, you know, who's not a chef, who would like to learn a Filipino dish? What dish I could, for instance, start and understand more the Filipino culture?
My first book, Philippine Cookery from Heart to Platter, was released like, by now it's 6 years ago. And it was my first book that, you know, by luck it became a bestseller. And by luck again, it won the international award, World Gourmand Awards. So it's the only book, even up to now, I guess, that looks at Filipino cuisine from a historical and anthropologic perspective. So it's really about telling the story of Filipino cuisine from the evolution of cooking methods. So if you're familiar with Cebu, yung tinatawag na sutukil, sugba, tuwa, kilaw. No? So, sugba is grilled over fire, over charcoal or wood. Tuwa is simply boiled with water to make a broth. And kilaw is eaten raw. And that insight, by connecting to my Cebuano roots, na imagine with that simple cooking methods, you can last an entire lifetime with those simple cooking methods, with your food tasting different all the time. Like for example, if I kilaw barilis today and I kilaw a lapu-lapu tomorrow, even if I do the same method, so simple, the textures, the flavors will be different by reacting to the environment and what is available. My tinola, my tuwa will taste different if I tuwa clams, if I tuwa shrimp, if I tuwa fish, different kinds of fish, and I use different souring agents. I have a santol, I have a kamyas, a kamatis, or whatever. It will change, diba? And the same with the sugba. And that's how our cuisine started, very simple. Pero you will notice that the same recipes, as you moved along from generation to generation by era, like once we started to know the Iron Age, we learned how to gisa, to saute. What did we do? We would do the same tuwa. But what did we do this time? We would saute the aromatics. So it's the same dish, it has evolved. No? So I made that connection on how Philippine cuisine transformed through generations, through the centuries, through the decades, by the influence of the Chinese. That's why when you talk of the gisa has two faces. The gisa is the Spanish gisa, which means gisado, food with sauces, wherein you start with the sofrito. Diba? The bawang, sibuyas, kamatis. In the case of Spanish, is the peppers, pimiento. And it's sauteed to the point where all the vegetables turn into a sauce. Diba? Ang sekreto nasa gisa, diba? And that is only, the saute is used to develop flavor, because objective really is to cook the meat until tender. You use the word gisa, igisa mo yan. Yun ang sekreto gisa. But the gisa also has an Oriental or Chinese influence, wherein we gisa and we saute vegetables in the manner that is cut into bite sizes, cooked quickly over high fire in a wok to be eaten by chopsticks. And we use the same word, gisa. So, when you understand Filipino cuisine, you also have to understand the context. You have to understand linguistics. You have to understand its origin and how it evolved. Etymology is very important. So, that's how the book was unfolding, like the adobo, Do you know that the first time that adobo was used to refer to a dish in the Philippines was by Pigafetta. And it did not refer to the adobo that we know. It referred to the kinilaw. Adobos de los naturales. The adobos of the natives, wherein the raw fish is marinated and cooked in vinegar. It's so interesting. It's cooked in vinegar because what is an adobo? It is a marinade. It is a means to preserve the meat from spoiling of the antiseptic qualities of the vinegar. So, when you put your vinegar or your acid into the fish, it technically is an adobo. Diba?
Technically, yes.
Technically, yes. And if you have your kinilaw na isda, cook it over fire, what do you have? Paksiw na isda. Same recipe. You change your fish into baboy or manok, it becomes an adobo automatically. So the term adobo is a term used as a reference by Spaniard, by someone who's not part of the culture, to identify something that is inherent in one culture. So the question is, what is the original terminology of cooking in vinegar? Is it inununan? Is it paksiw? Is it kilaw? Because even if you say that now we really know that adobo is a Spanish dish, right? It's a Spanish dish. A Spanish origin in the word. But it's meant like to marinate to prevent from spoiling. But all the research, well, I've read it, sabi nila na the original meaning of adobo, word of the adobo, is really daube, no? Like there's a dish in French, parang the daube, diba? Parang cooked in onions and red wine and all that. But the original meaning is that it's an armor. So it talks about a metal armor. So the vinegar serves like the armor of the dish from spoiling. So that's where it yeah. So it evolved to the adobar, to the adobo, and it has gained its own context in Philippine cuisine, which is very different from the adobo of the Mexicans. And you have to understand the Filipino psyche, how would, because culture is really reflected in a pattern of thinking and doing things, diba? Like for example, in Southeast Asia, we use practically the same ingredients, but why is our food like this? Why is Thai food like that? Why is Malaysian food like that? Though there are similarities, but there are certain parang characteristics that really define how we do the dishes in our own way, using the same ingredients. So it's really a psyche, it's really a way of thinking, and we have to understand that. Yeah.
Was it also for you a challenge, or what's your experience with the Netflix, the street food?
Oh, that was really interesting, because like when they got in touch with me, there were several like interviews, and they did a lot of background checks and all that. So they were really very careful on, all the like resource people that they tapped on Netflix. And I didn't even know that I was one chosen until the last minute. So I had like 3 phone interviews, and I met them in Cebu, and it was really interesting, like working with this this team entirely from the US who flew in. Though I didn't have much say on what was, I was just there to comment and to annotate, what they featured. Honestly, we could have told a better story about Philippine street food, but that was the opportunity given to us, and rather than complain about it, just make the best out of it.
Did you have the chance to a bit have an explanation, like on certain annotation when you were filming? Did you have some creative?
Yeah, like oh yes, during the interviews, but it was so much work. It was really so much work, like.
How long was it, sir? Like shooting?
For my part alone, I think we shot for around 2 days, but the team had to do several days shoot to do all the food shots, to do the location, to do the character profiling. That for me, I was 2 days, and the others, so they stayed in Cebu for like more than a week. They brought in all their equipment and all that. That's why it's so beautifully made. Yeah.
How would you describe to a German, for instance, in Europe, in 3 words, in your opinion, Philippine cuisine?
That's very challenging. One, it's very flavorful. Number 2, not a word, but rich in history. Yan. And thirdly, it's very dynamic. Because when you eat Filipino food, you cannot just enjoy it a dish at a time. It's really like a repertoire, like your sinigang with your rice, with your patis calamansi on the side. You can't just have it like that, It has to have all the, like a okoy on the side, something crispy. So it's actually called like terno, match, and tono. Meaning, it's matched, but it's also in sync. Because when you eat your kare-kare, you eat it with your bagoong. So if you taste about it, may be too salty, your kare-kare may be bland, but if you eat it together, you create that balance mitigated by your rice. To create that perfect balance. So you have a spoonful of your kare-kare with your bagoong, with your rice, probably with a little bit of adobo.
Gutom ko, sir.
Diba? So, that is Filipino cuisine. It's really, dynamic.
What do you want people outside the Philippines to know about, or in future to know about the Filipinos and the Philippine cuisine, about the culture?
I just like to share this. One of my frustrations of, promoting Filipino cuisine is that we have remained to be very, we promote Filipino cuisine in the context of like a social affair. I really want to be able to promote Filipino cuisine, with the objective of promoting Filipino products. Why? I just don't want our food to be popular. I want Filipino food to be able to help the Philippine economy by letting Filipino food be the birthright of all Filipino farmers, wherein we are able to uplift their lives by promoting Filipino food internationally. So, bawat sausaw mo na sa suka, may natutulungan kang farmer. Sa bawat kain mo ng adobo, may papaaral ka na tao. Rather than just saying, cooking Filipino cuisine using Japanese vinegar or Japanese soy sauce because that's Filipino. No. The people who should benefit from the promotion of Filipino food should be the Filipinos. That's why the economic impact of the choices we make when we promote Filipino food abroad should be very important and should be the focus of why I do it.
Danke, thank you, Salamat Sir Tatung Sarthou für dieses inspirierende Gespräch. Und vielleicht denkt ihr das nächste Mal darüber nach, also wir werden es auf jeden Fall tun, wenn ihr ein Pinoy-Gericht kocht, woher es kommt und was es für eine eigene Identität mit sich bringt. Also, habt es fein. Ayo, ayo.